Good morning, students. Today, I, Padmaja Behera, PGT English, has come with another chapter from class 11. The book is Hornbill, and the chapter is The Portrait of a Lady, written by the famous writer columnist Khushwant Singh. To begin with, let's know some facts about the writer Khushwant Singh. He was one of the best known Indian writers who was born in Pakistan, and he shifted to India at the time of partition. He was a Rajya Sabha member and he was awarded Padma Bhushan, which he returned in 1984 in protest against the government's seize of the Golden Temple in Amritsar. Khushwant Singh had a natural death in the year 2014 at the age of 99 at Delhi. The two main characters in this particular chapter are the narrator, who is Khushwant Singh himself, and his grandmother. The Portrait of a Lady. What do you mean by the title? The pen portrait of a lady. Lady is who? The grandmother. And pen portrait. A brief description about his grandmother. What kind of a relationship he shared with his grandmother? Children, all of you are very attached to your grandmother. Similarly, Khushwant Singh also was. So this chapter is dedicated to Khushwant Singh's grandmother. The Portrait of a Lady is written in first person, and it is an account of the relationship which Khushwant Singh shared with his grandmother. He had a very long association with her because when his father had moved to the city, Khushwant Singh had to live in the village with his grandmother. He describes his grandmother as short, fat, and slightly bent. Her silver hair was scattered on her wrinkled face. She moved around the house in white clothes. She was beautiful, like the winter landscape. And her hand used to rest on her waist, and the other hand used to tell the beads of the rosary because she was too old. For the past 20 years, Khushwant Singh has seen his grandmother the same. She used to always wear sparkling white clothes and she was beautiful. She was a good human being. She was a very ambitious lady. She was very progressive. That's why Khushwant Singh has praised his grandmother in this particular chapter because she knew the value of education, she knew the value of higher studies. So she encouraged Khushwant Singh to go abroad also for further studies because during those days people used to go to abroad for higher studies. Right now the education system has become too good in India. So Khushwant Singh's grandmother used to rest her hand always on her waist, one of the hand, and the other hand she used to continuously read the beads of the rosary. She was very religious, she was very spiritual. During her stay in the village, grandmother had to wake him up in the morning and feed him with stale chapatis, and the some of the chapatis used to take for the dogs because in Hindu religion we always feed the dogs. So Khushwant Singh grandmother used to feed the dogs on the way, and so to take one chapati she used to feed her grandson, and the other chapatis used to carry, so that on the return journey from the school they used to feed the dog. That was a routine for them. And Khushwant Singh used to study alphabets, and his grandmother used to read the holy books and scriptures because the school and the temple were adjacent to each other. Sorry, children. When they moved to the city, when Kushwant Singh's father had settled, he called them to the city. A turning point came in the relationship. The writer studied in an English medium school, went to school by motor bus, and he studied science, maths, and English, and music also. But this was not liked by Kushwant Singh's grandmother, and she could not help him in any way because she only knew how to read, only knew about the scriptures. But here, science, Archimedes' principle was taught, and Kushwant Singh's grandmother was unable to help Kushwant Singh. Only common thing was that they used to share the same room. And Khushwant Singh's grandmother was not happy because music was taught in the city schools because she had a very lewd association with music. She thought that music is only meant for harlots and beggars. Now, when Khushwant Singh went to the university, the common link also was snapped. As earlier they used to share the same room, now Khushwant Singh had a different room for himself because he was a grown up boy now. Khushwant Singh's grandmother spent her time in the city spinning the charkha, feeding the sparrows, and reading the beads of the rosary. The grandmother was very progressive, as I told you earlier. So she was not disturbed when Khushwant Singh wanted to go abroad for further studies. The grandmother, was very much alive when Khushwant Singh returned, and she celebrated the day by singing songs of the homecoming of warriors. She was so excited on that particular day that she forgot to read the beads of the rosary. The next day, she felt too guilty and she fell ill. She decided not to talk to anyone, and she was feeling guilty, so she stopped talking to anyone and started reading the beads of the rosary. Because for so many years she has been reading, but out of excitement she had forgotten to read the beads of the rosary. While reading the beads of the rosary, all of a sudden, the beads of the rosary fell down from the lifeless fingers of Khushwant Singh's grandmother. As I told you earlier, that Khushwant Singh's grandmother used to pass her time in the city by feeding the sparrow. That was that for half an hour, and that half an hour was the happiest time of Khushwant Singh's grandmother. So when Khushwant Singh's grandmother passed away, can you imagine, children? The sparrows also had come to express their sorrow on the death of Khushwant Singh's grandmother. The thousands of sparrows had scattered around the body. They did not chirp that day. But when Khushwant Singh's mother gave the sparrows some breadcrumbs, they did not take any notice of it and just flew away when the body was carried away for the funeral procession. Just imagine, we always, neglect, or we always disregard the animals. But look, animals also have feelings and emotions, and that's why they could shower their love for Kushwant Singh's grandmother after her death. Love has no boundaries. Children, what do you understand from this particular chapter? Of course, this chapter is a bio sketch of Kushwant Singh's grandmother, and it is a very old kind of very, this Kushwant Singh had penned down very a long time ago, and this shows person can be at any age, but or for any of any time, but we always value education. We always want that the child should have the basic rights of education so that he can progress in life. Just analyze this particular story and try to imbibe in your life. And try. I know very clearly that you all are very attached to your grandmothers than your parents. Similarly, the way Khushwant Singh was. Children, please go through the chapter thoroughly, and and you can very well understand. I've given you a brief outline of the entire story on what it is based and what is the theme and what all goes, how much attachment, how much bonding was there with Kushwant Singh, with how much bonding Kushwant Singh shared with his grandmother, and it how did it last long. And look, imagine and analyze everything, because you are all grown up children, because you might get hot questions from all this also, from this particular chapter, because see how Kushwant Singh's grandmother survived till Kushwant Singh returned back from abroad, and the very next day he passed away. She passed away. That shows what kind of attachment, what kind of a bonding, every person shares with our near and dear ones. But at this point of time, in the 21st century, we neglect or these kind of feelings and emotions. We lack these kind of feelings and emotions are not seen these days because we have become too materialistic. There is no emotion, there is no feelings for our elderly, for our near and dear ones. Thank you, children. Please go through the entire chapter. I would like to request you so that you can remember and recollect it whenever you feel like. Thank you so much.